And away we go.
All right, so pretty busy day today, pretty newsworthy day today, but let's see what we have in the news.
Yes, absolutely. Lil Nas X charged with 4 felonies after allegedly assaulting officers while wandering naked in LA streets.
Wow, that is very wow. I don't really know how to explain this, man. It's just simply a fall from grace. You know what? No, I'm gonna say this first. It's extremely sad where he's at right now. I don't know what Lil Nas X is going through personally, but I will say that I feel bad because it's like this young man who was successful at the age of 21. I assume. I think he's older than me, but like at the age of 21 or 20, he went from Old Town Road to this, and It's upsetting. It's upsetting. I mean, like, yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like I have to say that he. It's unfortunate, but like he did it to himself in a way. But yeah, let's hear more about this news.
Rapper Lil Nas X was charged with 4 felonies, including 3 counts of battery on a police officer and 1 count of resisting an executive officer in Los Angeles. Police found the 26-year-old rapper walking naked on a major street in the Studio City neighborhood, and he allegedly charged at officers when confronted. Lil Nas X, best known for his hit song Old Town Road, was taken to a hospital and later jailed, where he has remained since the incident.
Now, I'm trying to wonder, like, by naked, do they mean like literally butt naked, like nothing on whatsoever? I'm assuming that's what they mean because, like, I'm assuming that's what they mean, and it's just once again unfortunate because it's like I don't know what Lil Nas X is going through, but it's just clear that he's on something. I don't know what he's taking, but he's definitely on something strong. And I'm not sure how accurate this is. I think I heard it a while back. I think his mom. I think he said something about his mom like kind of going through the same thing. I think he said his mom was like also like had something similar to like a drug addiction too. And I just think that Lil Nas X is going through the same thing. And it's kind of sad. It really is. It's a true fall from grace. And I really do hope Lil Nas X gets better because this is not who he is. Like it's like yeah, sure. Some people would say that yeah, he's getting just what he deserves for doing what he did, making the whole pretty much mocking God, and in a way he is, but at the same time it's like you also have to feel for the guy. It's just kind of sad because it's like none of this had to happen, but I do hope that he recovers and I do hope he gets better because it's just upsetting, and I do hope that he turns his life around. I I don't want I don't want him to die. I don't want him to die from like whatever he's taking or whatever he's doing. And I just hope that he has time to actually think while he's in jail. And I hope that he doesn't go back to mocking God or mocking anybody really, any beliefs really. But it's just the fact of the matter is he's just not in the right place right now. And I just hope that he can get in the right headspace, either sooner than later, honestly. But still, if it is later, then that would be better than never. But yeah, sad to see. He went from making songs with big rappers and big artists to this. I don't know. I don't even know if he's broke. I don't even know if he still has the money that he's made from his songs. But either way, it's just depressing. But yeah. Is there anything else in the news?
Polish president blocks law to extend social welfare to Ukrainian refugees.
Okay, the Ukrainian refugees and Ukraine is back in the news. Let's hear more.
On August 25th, 2025, President Karol Nawrocki vetoed 3 government bills, including one extending support for 1 million Ukrainian refugees, and announced he will present his own legal proposals. Citing his campaign message, President Karol Nawrocki argued child allowances should only go to Ukrainian workers, calling it social justice. At a TVP Info press conference. He proposed alternative legislation that would ban promotion of Stepan Bandera's ideology, modify citizenship procedure, and strengthen penalties for illegal border crossing. Because the ruling coalition lacks a supermajority, the veto affects nearly 1 million Ukrainian refugees, and Prime Minister Donald Tusk criticized the move. Without an extension, protections will expire at the end of September, despite the centre-left coalition government's bill to extend temporary protection and assistance measures until March 4th, 2026.
Well, I will say this: I just hope things go. I just hope things go smoothly during that process. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
When I first heard about the war between Russia and Ukraine, in the first year of Poland hosting Ukrainian refugees during the war, fair enough. At the start of that war between Russia and Ukraine, it was a sudden surprise. It was very, very scary for a lot of people of all ages. And whilst it's important to provide support and shelter for those fleeing from tragic events, I think now, as of this recording, it gets to a point that something has to be done, not regards with providing support from those fleeing from tragic events, but something has to be done regarding the war itself. Someone has to go to the negotiating table and provide some kind of agreement to some extent. Because no matter what side anyone is on regarding this war, they're sick and tired of hearing these stories over and over again. And for people providing support for the people fleeing the war, they're sick and tired of providing support, although good in intention, the execution and the long-term plan of providing those support. I think there comes a point that there may not be enough resources or shelters or other kinds of support that is to be provided for our nation's own people, because a lot of foreigners coming to these countries to get the support they ever so need, that they're using the support right now. And although I'm all for providing support for those that need it, it gets to a point that there comes a breaking point when people can't put up with this kind of level of support to those people anymore. They want to get to the root cause of why these people are coming to the countries to begin with. And knowing that, those nations would desperately want whoever's involved to actually do something and resolve whatever outlying issues are going about. That I will say.
You're absolutely right. It gets to a point where you have to just say, man, this needs to be resolved because it's not really going to help anyone. In the beginning stages, yeah, sure, maybe it was all la-di-da, but like, now it's just getting to it's just getting to a boiling point where it's like, okay, is something actually going to be, something actually going to happen? Is something actually going to change, or are we just doing this? Or are we just doing this for no reason? Like, you have to ask all these questions. What are you doing? No, what are we doing? But mostly, what are they doing? Then ask, what are we doing? Well, we can't do anything, but they can. But yeah, it's like, it's just, you pretty much said, like, all there needs to be said. It's like, it's just, when is it going to, like, when is it going to stop? When is it going, when is something going to come to a conclusion? Most things throughout human history have a conclusion, but it seems like this will never have a conclusion. But you gotta keep hope that it will someday come to a conclusion. I'm not saying you should waste your life worrying about this, especially if you're not directly involved with it. Worry about it from a distance, but like, don't let it consume your life. Like, obviously, like, just keep the civilians, keep anybody, like, keep anybody, like, you either care about or don't even know in your prayers, and just hope that, like, things are just safe from their end. That's really all we can do.
Indeed.
But yeah, indeed. But yeah, it's like what else in the news?
Kneecap to play Paris concert in defiance of objection.
Okay, let's hear more.
Irish rap group Kneecap cancelled all 15 sold-out US tour dates in October due to a band member's upcoming court hearing in London. The cancellation after Liam O'Hanade, I've certainly butchered that, known as Mo Shara, was charged with showing a Hezbollah flag during a London concert held in November 2024. Kneecap denied supporting Hamas or Hezbollah, claimed the accusations are part of a UK government witch hunt, and said the tour cancellation is due to the hearing's proximity to the US shows. The band announced the cancellation on social media, stating the band's performances in Toronto and Vancouver are still planned to proceed, while the outcome of the court hearing set for September 26 could impact their future touring schedule.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I will say this first and foremost. That is a very interesting band name, Kneecap. That's actually not a bad name. It's interesting too. Second off, hey, regardless on if on the circumstances that they did cancel, on why they canceled it, or the circumstances behind them canceling it, doesn't really matter. I mean, like, does it really matter? I mean, like, look, if they give the reason on why they canceled the, like, tour, or like why they canceled, like, this thing, then, like, look, just take the reason as it is. There's really no need to look that deep into it unless it's really just impacting your life somehow. But I don't think that missing one concert is going to necessarily determine the rest of your life. Oh, Chris Brown canceling a concert, and, like, just people speculating on why he canceled a concert. You catch the next concert. I mean, like, if you spent a lot of money on that ticket and can't get a refund, then, well, it's on you. But you'll make the money back. You'll make the money back. It's fine. But yeah. Uh, Look, if they gave a reason, just take it as it is. Be like, okay. I mean, it's one thing if they gave that same reason multiple times, and, like, yeah, okay, be a little bit skeptical. But at the same time, it's still a concert. Just listen to their music on your phone or on your television. It just doesn't matter at the end of the day. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Indeed, there is. Crypto giant Galaxy John Multicoin looked to raise $1 billion for buying Solana's soul.
All right, $1 billion. That is a hefty amount. Let's hear more about that.
On Monday, Galaxy Digital, Jump Crypto, and Multicoin Capital sought $1 billion to build a Solana treasury by acquiring and restructuring a publicly listed company. Following a broader industry trend, many listed firms have adapted single token treasuries, with Upexi holding over 2 million Solana and generating value through staking, while Mercury Fintech Holding and Classover Holding secured $200 million and $550 million deals, respectively. Using current market math, a $1 billion buyer equates to around 5.102 million Solana at $196 per token, more than doubling any existing Solana treasury size. Market watchers note that large-scale accumulation would reduce circulating supply, boost sentiment, and increase liquidity for Solana, which trades near $200 with a 6.6% gain over the past month. Institutional interest in Solana is growing, evidenced by the Solana Foundation, backing the fund to accelerate developer activity and attract institutional investors, signaling expansion beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum.
I would say, like, that's definitely an interesting thing to, like, report. Well, first off, I hope they do raise that 1 billion. And I hope that nothing goes wrong, like, all in all. What would you say about, like, this whole thing as well?
Well, I'm glad there is investment to other cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin. and Ethereum, because Ethereum is somewhat noticeable in the crypto world. Seeing this kind of investments in crypto in general is great to see. And although I understand people will have their opinions and arguments about the legitimacy of crypto and the safety concerns revolving crypto, in a few years, whatever government regulation and standards are put in place, crypto is going to be an alternative form of monetary currency that people will use to purchase and buy goods and or services.
Yeah, like I definitely am like happy that there's like more crypto options too, like than Bitcoin and Ethereum. And yeah, let's just continue to like pray and hope that these options can continue to like thrive and just allow more options to, because yeah, it's like there ultimately should be more options to like cryptocurrency and just general like currency, because ultimately speaking, cryptocurrency is the future and it'll become the norm in the next couple of years. So we just have to kind of get used to it now, because ultimately speaking, things will continue to change, whether if we want them to or not. And it's inevitable, and you either adapt to change or somehow try to avoid that change, which you can avoid it, but it would take so much more work, to like try to like adjust yourself to another way of living life. Because it's like it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, what are you gonna do? Like, are you going to like adapt to change? Are you gonna do this and that, etc.? And like so that you won't have to use cryptocurrency, or are you going to just use cryptocurrency and just like use that, and because it's gonna be the norm. But yeah, like I'm happy about that too, and I just pray for more success as they go on. Because yeah, there needed to be more options anyways. There really did need to be more options. So this is a great, so like stuff like this is a great alternative.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So is there anything else in the news?
China coal power surges even as renewables hit record high.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Let's hear more.
China put 21 gigawatts of coal power online in the first 6 months of 2025, the highest 6 month level in 9 years. China also began on restarted construction on coal projects totaling 46 gigawatts and launched another 75 gigawatts worth of proposed new and revived coal power projects. Despite adding record levels of clean energy capacity, the growth in coal power threatens China's goal to peak carbon emissions by 2030.
Huh. I will say this, man. For the first time in 9 years, huh? That is, that is, that is, that's not even that long ago, but it's still a pretty long time. It's just, dang, 9 years, almost a full decade. That's crazy. But yeah, it's like I just honestly, I just like want to just hope that everything can go smoothly, because I'm not gonna lie, China's been up and down for years. China has like a decreasing like population, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay, yeah, like yeah, I really just want China to win, because it's like I don't know, it's like they have that going on. Like barely anyone like our age there is having any children and like raising the next generation. I really just want China to win. That's really what I gotta say, man. And yeah, do you have anything?
I don't have much of a strong opinion to say about this, but I know Risk would.
Yep, he would. Yeah, he would. Yeah, Risk definitely would. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
World's first commercial CO2 storage starts in North Sea.
Huh? I have no idea what that is, but let's still continue on.
On Monday, the Northern Lights Consortium announced it carried out its inaugural CO2 injection into the North Sea seabed, with Managing Director Tim Payne saying our ships, facilities and wells are now in operation as part of Norway's Longship program. The project aims to stop captured CO2 from releasing into the atmosphere to halt climate change, with the IPCC and IEA listing CCS as a tool for industries such as cement and steel. Captured CO2 is liquefied and shipped to the Oygarden terminal near Bergen, then injected via a 110-kilometer pipeline about 2.6 kilometers beneath the seabed into the Aurora Reservoir. First volumes came from Heidelberg Materials cement plant in Breivik, largely financed by the Norwegian state. Northern Lights joint venture has a 1.5 million tons annual capacity, planned to increase to 5 million tons by decade's end, and will operate through the rest of 2025. Critics note CCS remains expensive and complex, and Northern Lights has just signed 3 contracts with Yara ammonia plant, Ørsted biofuel plants, and Stockholm Exergi thermal power plant.
I would say that I don't really have that much of a strong opinion about this. Do you?
Well, whatever balances the gases in our atmosphere, I'm not too bothered. But so long as it's not too insufferable for us to breathe, because yeah, that would not be pleasant whatsoever.
Yeah, a lot of things. Yeah, a lot of things wouldn't be pleasant. But yeah, no, definitely that would not be the most pleasant thing to try to endure. So yeah, as long as things are just safe and sound, I really see no problem to worry like a common man would, or like anyone would really. But yeah, as long as things are just smooth sailing, then yeah, can't complain.
Very true.
But yeah. Is there anything else in the news?
Five Flags price rises as it introduces new services.
What are these new services? Wow. Okay, let's see.
On August 24th, the Financial Times reported Spotify will raise prices as it invests in new services and features, with monthly premium prices increasing in some markets starting September. After years of prioritizing subscriber growth, Spotify combined price increases with cost cutting to achieve its first annual profit last year, while balancing growth and profitability reported. The company said the premium price will increase to $18 in several regions, including Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Africa, Europe, Latin America, and the Asia Pacific region. Though routers could not immediately verify the Financial Times report. Earlier this month, investors pushed Spotify shares up nearly 10% after the price news, despite the company swinging to a net loss in the second quarter. Looking further ahead, management said the expansion runway remains large, with Alex Nostrom noting over 3% of the world's population pay Spotify and predicting 1 billion users as a realistic goal.
Well, I'm not that surprised. Spotify is a huge platform, and Spotify is the most used platform. I mean, yeah, sure, some people still use SoundCloud, but Spotify has always been the top dog. Well, I'm pretty sure at one point SoundCloud was the top dog. I don't know which one came first. Actually, I don't really care to look into it. But don't. But I don't. It's not that important. The point is, Spotify is the top dog, so it's like I'm not that surprised, that yeah. So, but I will say this: I just hope that things go smoothly, especially considering you know, the complaints that people have had about Spotify in the past and the current present, but the past. So yeah, Spotify is just got to just keep working and keep doing what they're doing, and just make sure that nothing bad happens to their user base, or that they should not. I would say they should keep the trust of their users, but I'm gonna be honest. I feel like even those users will still continue to use Spotify.
And even
But
then,
yeah,
the artists on the platform are not being paid enough for their music.
that is also true. So, what alternative can someone use? Well, I'm pretty
Well,
sure
there's.
SoundCloud does.
I was
Oh,
going to
what were
say
you gonna say?
Deezer. I was going to say Deezer is a good option.
I never heard of it. Deezer. Wait,
Yeah,
Deezer.
Deezer.
Deezer. Okay. Why would you say that's a good option for artists to
Well,
use?
well, it has. Although it doesn't have the figures of Spotify. Its user interface is, in my opinion, aesthetically pleasing, and of course, it's been around for a while, and the pay per couple thousand streams that users get is at least significantly higher than on Spotify. And although there is another music streaming platform, which compared to all streaming platforms has the best pay rate per couple thousand streams, I think it starts with a Q. Cubo was the name? I'm generally not sure, but I know that there was a graph that has all the streaming services, all the music streaming platforms, and the platform that starts with a Q or has a Q in its name, their pay rate per thousand streams is very, very high. It's so high it blows all the other platforms out of the water. Like it's very noticeable. There's a huge margin between that and the platform with the next highest pay rate.
I would say for any artists who wants to make a lot off of their music, I'd say that's probably the smartest option to go with. Just obviously stay on the mainstream platform so that you can kind of get your music, so you can get your music out there better to like a broader audience. But I'd say if you're, I would also say explore some other options as well. Cause yeah, there are it can probably be the rumble to it can probably be the rumble to the like, how do I say this? It can be Spotify's Rumble. Yeah, that's a better, that's a good way to put it actually. But yeah, it's I'd say for any artists who who wants to make money off their stuff, then yeah, have your audience support you on that alternative platform just in case on Spotify it does not work. It's ironic. We're posting this. You're posting this to Spotify as well. I'm kidding. I'm not. But yeah, it's yeah, just always put yourself out there on multiple platforms if you're a creator or if you're an artist of some sort. But yeah, let's see what else in the news.
SpaceX scrubs Starship Flight 10 over ground LOX leak.
Interesting. SpaceX back in the news once more. Let's see what they got going on.
SpaceX is preparing to launch the 400-foot tall Starship mega rocket from its South Texas facilities soon for a critical uncrewed test flight known as Flight 10. This launch follows multiple recent setbacks, including explosions and premature mission endings, alongside FAA approvals in May and last week allowing increased flight frequency. SpaceX will not attempt the dramatic Super Heavy booster chopsticks landing, but will test a controlled splashdown off Texas and push the booster to its limits for performance data. Former NASA astronaut Garrett Reisman described the outcome of SpaceX's Starship project as highly uncertain and characterized the company's ambitious pursuit of the spacecraft as a significant and risky commitment. Despite recent failures, SpaceX embraces rapid, iterative development, plans scaled up Starship versions over twice as powerful as Apollo rockets, and supports US plans for lunar and Mars missions in 2026 to 2027.
I don't really have any initial thoughts on that. Do you?
I don't have strong opinions on this story whatsoever. I already know
Yeah,
what's going to
honestly.
happen next. Yeah, because every time there's going to be, every time SpaceX or whatever space agency are planning to launch their rocket, there's always going to be faults along the way. And the more I see the faults, the more I question and even to some extent doubt if we could even escape our atmosphere far beyond the altitude that the International Space Station is at.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Guinea's junta suspends three main political parties.
Huh. All right, let's hear more.
Guinea's junta has suspended three main political parties for 3 months ahead of a referendum on a constitutional rewrite. The suspended parties include the Rally of the Guinean People, the Union of Democratic Forces of Guinea, and the Party of Renewal and Progress. The junta cited unfulfilled obligations by the parties as the reason for their suspension.
I would say this is a very interesting story. Any formal thoughts?
Well, I will say, not that I would defend the decision. I think that this just has to be more to this story. Yes, you said the reason for suspending the three parties comes from unfulfilled obligations. But what are those unfulfilled obligations? And what needs to be done to ensure those obligations are to be fulfilled? That is something that we haven't heard about yet. Of course, this story is still developing, but as of now, unless there is a validly clear reason besides unfulfilled obligations for these parties to be suspended, who's to say that this cannot be some form of political gain? I mean, there were people that make that point.
That is true. Like, how do we know if it's like, not some form of political gain or what? What really? How can we like really judge this? Like, accordingly. How can we truly judge this accordingly without truly knowing, like, what are the motives behind it? I mean, it's just something that we can't just assume. It's something that we have to like test, and it's something that we have to just try our best to discern, as some might say. So yeah, it's like I would say, like, it's just a matter of like, testing whether or not if this truly does align with something good or something bad. I just hope that nothing goes out of context. That's all I got. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Son of ex-UFC champion Quinton Jackson appears to assault pro wrestler at LA show.
Yes, I definitely did hear a lot about that. What I know about the pro wrestler is that, like, he uses wrestling as a form of, I don't want to say therapy. I'm trying to figure out what are the words he said exactly. But yeah, it's like it helps him deal with his PTSD. It helped him to readjust back into, like, the into the modern civilization, because like after like because he is a war veteran. But yeah, I will say that his son definitely went too far with what he was doing. Something that was supposed to be a work, it turned into like a whole shoot. It's like he did not have to go that hard on that older gentleman, on a war veteran, by the way, a man who served this country, a man who put his life on the line for so that you can even be here. But it's like, it's like I will say, like, some people say, like, he needs to be, like, his son needs to be arrested. But yeah, let's get into the story.
Rampage Jackson expressed being very upset about his son Raja's actions during a wrestling match where Raja repeatedly struck Stuart Smith, who was motionless, before being pulled off by others. Raja Jackson entered the ring during a match and struck wrestler Stuart Smith multiple times while he was motionless, according to video footage shared online. Rampage Jackson later assured that Stuart Smith was awake and stable following the match and apologized to him on behalf of his son. Rampage Jackson expressed regret over the incident, stating, "I'm very upset that any of this happened. Mr. Smith will make a speedy recovery."
Well, thank God that, like, Mr. Smith will make a speedy recovery. I'm glad he didn't die, because like people were starting to say, like, oh yeah, he's dead. I'm glad he didn't die in that ring, man. That's just, yeah, I'm glad he's gonna make a speedy recovery. Like, and this whole thing just went like, went completely out of control. For one, I blame the wrestlers for not getting him off of him immediately. It's like, bro, you saw him throwing legit punches. Why didn't you get him off that man immediately? It's like they could have easily rushed in that. It took them a good what 20, 15 seconds. I'm gonna say 20 just for the sake of this. 20 seconds, maybe 25, possibly 30 to help to pull that man off of him. But nonetheless, by the grace of God, I'm glad that he's okay. I'm glad that he'll make a full recovery, and I hope that his career is not over because of this specifically. And I would say that Rampage Jackson's son, well, whatever happens to him happens to him. I obviously don't want him to get hurt in any capacity, but I would like him to at least pay for his crimes. I don't know, man. Because what was that? Something that was supposed to be a shoot? Sorry, a work scripted. It turned into a complete shoot. You did not have to do that to that man, bro. Really didn't have to do that. And the wrestlers are at fault too. They should have pulled that kid off, like when they saw him throwing legit punches. It should have at least taken them 10 seconds to get in that ring. Not no 15, 20, potentially 30. It shouldn't have taken them or even a full minute, however long it took them to get into that ring. It took them way too long to break that up. Honestly, legitimately, God forbid he could have died in that ring, and it was on film too. Seriously, but it's unfortunate. Once again, his son will get his. I'm not saying I don't want him to get hurt. I just at least want him to serve his time. Do something. I don't know. Do something. At least apologize. I don't know. Do something. Either serve time in jail or just apologize. I don't know. But that's just me though. Don't want him to get hurt though. Or nor killed. I don't wish death on anybody. But yeah, it's I will say this, that's all I gotta say about that. And yeah, is there anything else in the news?
People carrying 2 copies of Alzheimer's gene lowered risk by 35% via diet changes.
Wait, they're deeming that as a gene?
Yeah.
Old timers as a gene? That's a gene now?
Well, yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
know what else to say.
all right, so pretty much you said the risk of that the old timers being a thing lowers because of a change in diet. Okay, okay, okay. I just wanted to make sure. Uh, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I have heard that a while back where it's certain foods kind of do something to your brain, especially sugar, to the point where it's it old timers it affects you when you get older. It's if you eat a ton of sugar or a ton of just I guess a certain amount of certain junk food. But yeah, let's hear more about this news because this is actually pretty good for people who don't want old timers.
Following a Mediterranean diet lowered the risk of dementia by at least 35% in people with 2 copies of the APOE4 gene, according to a new study. Yuji Liu, the study's lead author, stated that those who followed a Mediterranean diet saw a significant risk reduction. Dr. Richard Isaacson emphasized that these findings might change the belief that carrying 2 copies of the APOE4 gene guarantees Alzheimer's development. Nichols, who has 2 copies of the APOE4 gene, changed his lifestyle and saw a reduction in amyloid and tau levels in his blood.
Well, I gotta say, man, that is amazing news. Honestly, I mean, I would say, if it's helping people to be healthier and avoid it and avoid old timers, because I'm pretty sure no one wants to lose their mind when they're in their 80s or 90s, and well, God willing, hundreds. I'll be honest, man. If I lived up to be 100 and something, man, that'd be something to say. Be like, yeah, I lived a long life. I lived a long life. But yeah, it's that's definitely some good news. I gotta say, man, we have to keep our minds sharp Because, we don't want to be easily manipulated into, like, doing something or taking something that we don't want to take or do, let alone participate in. But yeah, but speaking of which, I heard in the news that, the rapper TK, his sentence has been updated. Instead of whatever other year he was gonna get out of jail, his sentence is a whopping, drum roll, I'm not gonna make the sound, but drum roll, he'll be out in 2099. Which does not make much of it, which does not make any much of a difference at all. Because look, anyone who grew up in the early 2000s would be blessed to live that long. But I don't think TK, let alone me or you, are gonna live that long. None of us are gonna live that long. TK is like, he might legitimately just pass away in prison. That's pretty much the news that I heard in regards to the rapper TK. One more thing. Something else in the news as well. Former NFL quarterback Tim Tebow hosted a red carpet event to motivate and celebrate individuals with special needs. Tebow, I don't know, used to go viral for doing his prayer knee celebration during his NCAA NFL games. It's nice to see him live it. And I gotta say, man, it's like, these special needs people, like, they deserve to be, they're human just like us. They deserve to be celebrated. Like, I know that some people would say, like, they would rather not have them on the earth because it's like, some people would deem them as useless. But at the end of the day, they're still human. And at the end of the day, they still need to be recognized as actual people because, like, you know, it's not their fault that they were born this way. But at the same time, man, they were all made in the image of God, just like all of us. So such a nice gesture is being like shown to these people. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
On August 25th, WX charts warned that Bank Holiday Monday, August 25th, will see temperatures climb close to 30 degrees Celsius across 10 counties in the United Kingdom. By late Monday, the remnants of Hurricane Erin will bring wind and rain, with Met Office Deputy Chief Meteorologist Tony Whistler noting, "There's still a lot of work out in terms of the exact track and position of what will become ex-Hurricane Erin. Forecasters predict the hottest spots will be Norfolk, Suffolk, Essex, and Kent, where several counties in the southeast forecast to reach 31 degrees Celsius and a 30% chance of 30 degrees Celsius somewhere over southern Britain tomorrow." The Met Office warned beachgoers to pick life-guarded beaches due to large waves Monday to Tuesday and forecast heavy rain, with gusty winds. Though Mr. Snell said it will be heavy at times in the west, but at the moment we're not expecting too many impacts, and it may, for farmers or anyone who needs the rain, be welcome. After Wednesday, August 27th, the Met Office long-range forecast shows low-pressure systems dominating until Friday, September 5th, with temperatures falling to seasonal averages near low 20s south and high teens north.
Okay, all right. Let's hear more. Let's hear more about the news. Let's see what else in the news, if there is anything else.
Chris Martin pokes fun at Kiss Cam scandal before helping fan propose at Coldplay concert. Are you real people?
Huh. Okay. Let's hear more about the scandal and how he mocked and how he helped someone with a proposal.
Coldplay's lead singer Chris Martin helped a fan propose during their concert at London's Wembley Stadium on Friday, August 22nd, 2025. This incident occurred shortly after a widely shared kiss cam moment at a July concert, where Andy Bryan, formerly the CEO of Astronomer, and Kristen Cabot, the company's head of human resources, were caught displaying affection on screen, leading to their subsequent resignations. Martin humorously conducted basic security checks on the proposing fan, asking if the woman was his partner and not related, before giving his congratulations and encouraging them to kiss. Martin asked the crowd member to give a nod as part of a playful security screening, and later, amid cheers, he congratulated the couple, addressing them warmly as "my brother and my sister." The proposal moment showed Coldplay continuing fan interaction despite recent controversies, suggesting the band remains engaged with the audience through playful and supportive gestures.
I will say this. I will say this. I mean, the joke has ran its course. I would say, like, the incident has ran its course. It happened. I mean, the guy is no longer even working for the company, and I'm pretty sure, like, the cheating wife and the guy are very happy together. Or the cheating couple, or I don't know if they were, I honestly don't know if they were both married or if one of them was married, but, like, I'm gonna assume they were both married to separate spouses, but, like, the cheating people are very happy together. So, let's, yeah, I mean, they paid for it at a concert, they got exposed. So let's move on. I mean, like, look, I mean, I get it. It was funny, but it was like what? It was like what, 3 months ago already? 4 months ago?
I don't even
Or
know.
two.
It's
I'm not really sure how long.
I'm certain it was at least
Honestly,
two
me
months
neither.
ago.
Yeah, I'm certain it was like 2 or 3 months ago, at least. At least. So I was like, look, let them move on already. Like, come on now. Let them move on.
The
They've
moment you're
learned their
embarrassed
lesson.
enough.
Yeah, exactly. They've learned their lesson. Going to a concert for a date is a stupid idea, especially if you're cheating. Especially if you're cheating. That was just stupid.
Oh yes.
But yeah. Yeah, it was just dumb. But yeah, it's like yeah, they definitely learned their lesson. But yeah, like let's just let's let them move on, and let's ensure that let's not make that mistake ourselves. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
While US restricts long-range missile use, Ukraine built its own.
Huh. Okay, Ukraine built its own. Let's hear more about that.
The US reinstated restrictions on Ukraine's use of long-range ATACMS missiles requiring Pentagon approval for strikes inside Russia, reversing a late Biden-era policy. President Trump publicly suggested Ukraine cannot win without striking Russian territory, but his administration says no change in policy has been made so far. Ukraine is increasingly relying on domestically developed weapons like the FP-1 and the new Flamingo cruise missile, designed to strike deep inside Russia without US approval. The restrictions also extend to certain European-provided systems, including Britain's Storm Shadow cruise missile, which relies on US intelligence for targeting data. President Donald Trump appeared to undercut his administration's policy last week when he wrote on Truth Social, "It is very hard, if not impossible, to win a war without attacking an invader's country." He also criticized Biden for limiting Ukraine to the defensive use of US weapons.
Well, and definitely in quite a pickle there. Do you have anything to say about this? Because I will say this. They're definitely in quite a pickle. And I suppose if you can't use someone else's hardware, just make your own, right?
Very true, yes.
But yeah, like that's all you really got to do. Just make your own hardware. If no one else is letting you use their hardware. So yeah, do you have anything to say about this?
Well, I can't argue that whatever foreign aid that Ukraine has gotten from the US, they have used that money very wisely, not just for their construction projects across the country, which again I won't argue with, because well, if they've already used a lot of that foreign aid for the military, if there's money laying about somewhere, why wouldn't they use it for anything else, like building new apartments, new businesses anywhere around the country? But of course, with the amount of foreign aid that Ukraine has been receiving from a lot of nations ever since Russia sent its military into Ukrainian territory, of course it's going to come to a point that Ukraine would have gotten enough funds to develop their own weapons, because not that they're anticipating that there will come a point where countries are no longer supporting Ukraine. Ukraine has been getting so much money from a lot of countries, mainly because they care for Ukraine. They want to support Ukraine from whatever they're going through against Russia, because they feel sorry that they show that they care about Ukraine, or they so thought. Nonetheless, Ukraine has used their foreign aid very wisely, not just for their military, but for other projects as well, and even, to some extent, build their own weapons. So, if at any point countries are saying, we're not going to give you any more foreign aid, or any more weapons, or you can't use weapons that we give you on Russia, well, they they already have figured
They've
everything
got it.
out.
They've got it. Yep, pretty much they've got it covered, and that's good because it's like you should also like try to rely on yourself as well. Not rely on anybody else. Yourself, especially if you're gonna fight in a war. You gotta make with what you got, or somehow just put that money towards your own benefit as well for the people, for like who you're fighting against, and just for your soldiers. Because yeah, it's like they can just like people can legitimately just pull the plug like that and say, "All right, we're not going to help you anymore." Then yeah, you gotta rely on yourself and whoever is willing to help you, but mainly yourself, because like you're the one fighting the war. If you lose due to the lack of weapons or due to the lack of hardware, that's on you. There shouldn't be wars in general, but there is. So as long as there are wars, yeah, you just gotta rely on yourself to a degree. Use the resources that people are providing you to strengthen your army and your hardware. But yeah. Is there anything else in the news?
AFL urged to cut Snoop Dogg act after LGBTQ plus film comment.
Ah, yes. Actually, I saw that video on Twitter. Let's hear more about what he said during this podcast or interview.
Snoop Dogg questioned LGBTQ plus themes in children's films, asking why kids need to see that representation at a young age. He said he now feels scared to go to the movies, worried about being put in situations where his grandkids ask questions he doesn't have answers for. His comments have led to calls for him to be dropped from his upcoming performance at the AFL Grand Final pre-show. Why is my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop? How how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman? She. I didn't I didn't come in for this sheet. I just came to watch the goddamn movie, he said. The film Lightyear focused on the backstory of Buzz Lightyear from the Toy Story franchise. It made headlines for including a same-sex kiss, a moment that was nearly cut from the theatrical release before Pixar employees pushed to reinstate it. Snoop admitted the scene made him uncomfortable. I'm like, I'm scared to go to the movies. You're throwing me in the middle of crap that I don't have an answer for, he said. The exchange happened as Fontenot discussed what she called a single mother epidemic, calling single mothers were raising men with more feminine traits.
Yeah, I don't really blame Snoop. That's actually the first thing that's honestly the first thing that I agree with him on. Yeah, it's like kids should not be worried about that at such a young age. And the thing is about kids is like, they're very honest as well at a young age. It's like, hey, how did that woman have a baby? Yeah, the kid was asking the right questions. Now, Snoop might have not wanted to answer that question. I would have but if I saw that in the movie and I was watching that with my son, I would have been like, "Well, son, this is fictional. That can't actually happen. Women cannot have babies with women. Men cannot have babies with men. The only way son, I don't have an answer for this because this is non-fictional. It can't happen in real life. That's not biology. What's biology is that you need one man and one woman to be madly in love with one another to produce a baby. That's how you were born. So, son, I don't know why they put this in a movie. I really don't. But son, I'm gonna proofread these. I'm gonna proofread these movies. The next movie we're gonna see, it's not gonna have this agenda to it. Cause son, me and you are. I'm not gonna say me and you are healthy straight men. I might say that as a. I might say that as a joke, but it's. But yeah, it's like I'm gonna be like, son. Honestly, me and you, like we're men. We need women to have children with. It was a two. This is this like it's a teamwork. It's a team effort. Your mom needs me or needs. I'm not even gonna have this conversation on here. You know the birds and the bees. I'm not gonna say that. But anyways, yeah, you
Yeah,
get the point. It's like yeah, I would have said I pretty much that's what I would have said to my son. But yeah, it's like yeah, it's like I understand Snoop Dogg and I he should at least tell like the kid what's up. Especially if they're just in a movie theater together. It's not like they're on television. Who cares? But yeah, it's like it's just not biology. It's just non-fictional. I mean, I'd have to proofread every movie now because it's like, I would want my child to just watch something that's for kids, that's innocent, that'll that will be the highlight of their childhood. Like, I don't want them dealing with this either. I don't blame Snoop Dogg for like, thinking that way. But yeah, that's like the first base thing that he said that I agree with. I'm pretty sure that any concerned father or mother would agree with that as well. And as far as like, the men being more feminine, I agree with that as well. Like, there are men who are definitely more feminine. There are certain terms that I don't say because it just sounds like something that a girl would say. For instance, I'll be honest, I don't like saying the word vibe because it's like it just sounds it's not it's not feminine, but it's like I think it just depends on the way a man says it. It can sound feminine, or it's giving. That I'm always gonna say that's something that girls can only say, man, because it's like it just sounds. I don't like when they say that either, but it definitely does sound more right when a woman says that rather than a man saying that. There are just certain things that men should say and women should say, and but if it's like there are some things that both men and women can say, but it's like there are just certain things that women can should only say, and there are certain things that should only say. As far as phrases or just slang or anything like that. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Is there anything else in the news?
that is us.
Very well. Peace.
Peace.